First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Famous words from Mahatma Gandhi that I find more relevant today in this current phase of Bitcoin's revolution than almost any other. When I woke up today, I saw the headline that the Mavericks become second NBA team to accept Bitcoin for tickets and merchandise. And I couldn't help but think of this phrase. And that's because right now there is something almost sinister happening in this Bitcoin revolution. Something that we're going to try to shed some light on today. And to me, it spells one of the most bullish, most important turning points in this whole movement that is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. What's going on, FUD Nation, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be opening your eyes to how you're being actively lied to about Bitcoin on a global scale by some of the biggest thought leaders in the world. And of course, if you always want to know the truth, you should follow the money. So follow me on this journey of finding out what the biggest, most influential figures in the financial world are doing versus what they are saying about Bitcoin. Now, briefly returning back to this Mavericks news, as they said, the Mavs will utilize the service provider BitPay to process all Bitcoin purchases. BitPay, the largest Bitcoin processor in the world, offers the Dallas Mavs global fans a seamless experience to purchase tickets and merchandise with the Bitcoin cryptocurrency. Now, this might not seem like big news unless you've been following what Mark Cuban has been saying about Bitcoin.
I hate gold. Gold is a religion. There's some fundamental value to gold, but everything else, it's a collectible. I see gold and Bitcoin as being the same thing.
So gold is useless and gold and Bitcoin are the same thing, yet as the owner of the Mavs cryptocurrency, you're going to start accepting Bitcoin in exchange for tickets and merchandise. Again, you can listen to what they're saying or follow what they're doing with their money. And I find that the latter is by far the more important of the two. We don't have to go very far back in history to find an example of Mark Cuban saying that Bitcoin was a good investment.
If you're a true adventurer and you really want to throw the Hail Mary, you might take 10% and put it in Bitcoin or Ethereum.
So Mark Cuban thinks gold and Bitcoin are useless, yet he believes that you should put potentially 10% of your money inside that asset, as well as he's now accepting it for tickets and merchandise for his professional basketball team, the Dallas Mavericks. Again, follow the money, not what they're saying. But he's not the only one. If we go back a few years ago, we can find Bill Gates talking very positively about Bitcoin and digital currencies as a way to bank the unbanked, among other very positive attributes.
As you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient.
So all of 3 years ago, we have Bill Gates saying that Bitcoin is more useful than currency in various ways. Wouldn't it surprise you to find out that only a few months later, he joined Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger in calling Bitcoin useless garbage?
On Bitcoin, do you own any?
Somebody gave me some for my birthday, and then a few years later I thought, hey, I'm going to sell that. So no. There's some really good technology in terms of sharing databases and verifying transactions that is talked about as blockchain. That is a good thing. Bitcoin and ICOs, I agree completely. It's one of the crazier speculative things where it's not, as an asset class, you're not producing anything. And so you shouldn't expect it to go up. It's kind of a pure greater fool theory type investment. So, you know, I agree. I would short it if there was an easy way to do it.
So once again, 2016 Bill Gates thinks Bitcoin is better than currency and an amazingly disruptive technology, very useful for banking the unbanked, among other things. Now, Bitcoin has some good technology behind it, but is completely speculative and is a greater fool theory investment that Bill Gates wishes he could short. Ironically, at the time, he could have shorted it, but I don't think he did. And Mark Cuban and Bill Gates are certainly not the only ones. My good friends Austin and Aaron over at Altcoin Daily just created an awesome video that you should go check out if you haven't already seen it, where they show how Kevin O'Leary has a very secret Bitcoin past. Now let's look at that same clip of Kevin O'Leary being extremely bullish on cryptocurrencies back in 2013 before flipping the script almost entirely in this modern bull run.
Remember that until yesterday, most people around the world never heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin, for those who don't know it, is basically virtual currency, the same that you get for blasting aliens in a video game, except now traded globally. You can buy Bitcoins with virtually any currency on Earth and convert back into any currency or buy goods and services with it.
Well, we talked about the story. What really got us talking about Bitcoin was the guy in Edmonton who was selling his house for the first time, wanted 400,000 in Bitcoins.
So I think the best way to look at this is a proxy for the mistrust individuals have of central bankers. If you're willing to take Bitcoin as a currency, a virtual Barbie currency to me, it has no basis, no central banker, no hard asset behind it. But if you don't trust any other currency, this is where you go. So it's essentially what's happening here, Heather. People all around the world are saying, I've had it with my central banker. I don't trust politicians anymore. I'm going to trade with this currency with my computer and my cell phone.
Well, they did that. The reason the Bitcoin shot up was after Cyprus, when they thought the government was going to get their hands on the money in the banks. So people turned to Bitcoins to keep them protected.
So I ignore everything till it gets to $1 billion of market cap.
Okay.
That happened recently with Bitcoin, well over $1 billion in value. So it's here to stay. When you've accumulated a virtual worth of $1 billion and people are willing to trade it and actually buy things with it, turn it back into hard assets, and here's the key, Heather, owners of hard assets are willing to take Bitcoin. This is here to stay. That's what's going to happen, and no central banker can control it.
So again, Mr. Wonderful now in 2013, very early comparatively to the others in the movement, praising Bitcoin on a variety of merits. Its decentralization, it being accepted for almost any fiat currency around the world, how you can trade it for hard assets. He really outlines the whole argument for Bitcoin in this one video. So wouldn't it surprise you that now 6 years later, he doesn't seem to understand these things at all?
Now, which is illegal, by the way. But to me, it's garbage. Try and do a transaction over $100,000 with Bitcoin. I tried to do some real estate in Switzerland with it once. It is a useless currency. It is a useless currency. That's what I believe. I mean, look, I'm not, I realize people have different opinions, but to me, it's garbage. Because you can't
doo-doo? I mean,
you can't get in and out of it in large amounts. And everybody says, yes, you can. But what happens is the receiver wants some guarantee. Let's say you want to buy a piece of real estate for $10 million in Switzerland.
Let's just say.
Let's just say.
Yeah.
And they don't want to use the traditional transfer system, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, which is illegal, by the way, because you have to disclose why you're transferring $10 million over Switzerland. They want to guarantee that the value comes back to U.S. currency at 10. You have to somehow hedge the risk of Bitcoin. That means it's not a real currency. That means the receiver is not willing to take the risk of the volatility it has. It's worthless.
2013, Kevin, very bullish on Bitcoin at just $1 billion in total market cap. Now we have Bitcoin at multi-hundred billion dollar market caps, and yet the bull case is now gone. It's now illiquid and impossible to get your money in and out of, or quote, useless. See how things change as the game gets bigger and more real. But Kevin's not done. He's on a Bitcoin rampage. Just check out this more recent clip when he's discussing it on Squawk Box with Anthony Pompliano.
I want to explore the idea that there's nothing here except raw speculation. No different than when I go to Las Vegas and put my money on black or red on a roulette wheel, because where is the intrinsic value inherent in deploying real capital? Let's talk real money here. And putting it into Bitcoin as a storage of value. I get gold. For 2,000 years, including the Romans, they saw value in owning that as an asset class. Tell me why this, which is basically a digital game, that's the way I look at it, has any intrinsic value. When people actually put real money into this, they make no interest, they can't pay their taxes with it, the regulators don't like it, which is always a problem for compliance. And where's the long-term value? Just this idea that they're going to cut the number of units in half, that's such a scam. Like, that's just totally BS.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground here. From Bitcoin being revolutionary, being extremely viable as an asset, can't be stopped, too big to fail, at just $1,000 in price. Now, at $10,000 in price, Bitcoin is a total scam and completely useless. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin O'Leary has tremendous plays in Bitcoin. As we've seen, people are fighting Bitcoin. And don't forget, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you've won. We have to open our eyes to the fact that some of the biggest powers that be are actively fighting against Bitcoin in a way unlike ever before. We've never had a sitting president say anything about Bitcoin, and just a few months ago, we got real Donald Trump on his Twitter saying, "I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air." We have to see that right now Bitcoin is in a battleground state. People are actively fighting against this. The biggest powers that be, Mark Cuban to Bill Gates, Kevin O'Leary, these are some of the biggest thought leaders in investing in the country, as well as Donald Trump, a sitting president, now actively chastising Bitcoin, which means that this movement has gotten to such a size, such a momentum, that some of the biggest powers in the world feel the need to fight against it, which in itself is a tremendous victory for cryptocurrency. Let's not forget about Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan, saying that anyone who buys Bitcoin is stupid and that they're going to pay the price eventually. Just a few months later, announcing that they're creating their own cryptocurrency for digital payments. Each and every time people are reinvesting in cryptocurrencies, even after they throw Bitcoin under the bus. Remember the saying that first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you've won. Right now, people are fighting Bitcoin, and that is one of the best things that could ever happen for this movement. You see it with Mark Cuban. He's now accepting Bitcoin even though he's thrown Bitcoin under the bus as useless. He's making the decision to accept Bitcoin for the Mavs. You're looking at Kevin O'Leary, who understands Bitcoin, who praised it back in 2013, now seems to not understand it. You're looking at Bill Gates, who loved Bitcoin for banking the unbanked, and now when he's sitting next to Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, says it's useless, highly speculative, and a greater fool investment. You're looking at JP Morgan, who says that anyone who buys Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is stupid and throwing their money away, and now we have JP Morgan Coin. Time after time after time, we're seeing the same results. People are bad-mouthing Bitcoin in public and then supporting it in private. We also know that JP Morgan formally bought Bitcoin as part of their investment strategy shortly after publicly throwing it under the bus as a stupid, bad investment. You are being manipulated. But if you're watching this, and if you're smart enough, you'll have the opportunity to take advantage of the situation. This is what's continuing to happen, and that's why right now might be one of the most pivotal and most opportunistic moments in Bitcoin's history. You need to open your eyes to the fact that this is a coordinated effort to FUD and attack Bitcoin. And if you're smart enough to think beyond what people are saying and follow what they're doing with their money, you will be on the front lines, on the bleeding edge of one of the most important monetary revolutions in the world. Thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, please throw a like on the video, leave a comment in the comment section below. Obviously, I want to shout out Altcoin Daily for bringing the Kevin O'Leary 2013 clip to the forefront. I hope you guys got value from this video. If you did, remember to subscribe. And as usual, I'm Elio Trades, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode of FUD TV.